Have you ever, like, watched an American movie or heard a song and just been totally captivated by the actor's accent or the singer's?
Oh, yeah.
And you think, wow, how do they sound so effortless? I wish I could sound like that. It's a really common feeling, I think.
Definitely. There's something about nailing that American accent that just really changes how fluent someone sounds.
Totally. It makes a speech feel so natural.
It's true. I think we've all met people, maybe their grammar isn't perfect or their vocabulary isn't huge, but their accent, spot on.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes them sound incredibly fluent, very confident. It's a huge factor.
Yeah, it really is.
So if you're out there really focusing on mastering that American accent and getting to that next level of fluency, well, we've got a great deep dive for you today.
We're digging into this really detailed guide, right? One specifically made for advanced English learners.
Exactly. It's tailored for folks who already have a good grasp but want to refine that accent.
And what I loved about this guide, what really jumped out, is that it doesn't just give you a list of rules, like, here you go, good luck.
No, it digs deeper.
Right. It gets into the why, the mechanics behind it all, those little things native speakers do without even thinking.
It's like they took the engine apart, piece by piece.
Yes. So you can actually see how all the parts work together to make that sound.
And understanding that, the principles underneath, that's when you can really start making progress with your own speech. That's the key.
Makes sense.
So our mission today, we want to pull out the most impactful stuff from this guide, help you understand what really makes the American accent tick.
And give some practical tips, right? Things people can use immediately.
Absolutely. Actionable tips to boost your pronunciation, your fluency right away. And I bet we'll uncover some surprising things, maybe a few aha moments.
I'm looking forward to those. Okay, so the American accent. Where do we even begin? Because reading the guide, the first thing is, there isn't just one American accent, is there?
Not at all. That's a crucial point. You've got so much regional variation.
Like someone from Texas sounds way different than someone from New York.
Totally. Or think about Boston. That's a really distinct one. Even West Coast versus Midwest, there are subtle differences. It's like a linguistic map.
It really is fascinating. But for today, and what this guide focuses on, is what's called General American, right?
Right. General American, think of it as the more neutral accent, the one you often hear on national news or in a lot of mainstream movies and TV.
Okay, so it's not really tied to one specific place.
Exactly. And it's a great starting point, a solid foundation if you're aiming for broad understanding.
Got it. So this General American sound, the guide breaks it down into 4 key phonetic elements, kind of the building blocks.
Yeah, 4 core features. First up is rhoticity.
Rhoticity, okay. What's that?
It's all about how Americans pronounce the R sound, especially at the end of words or before a consonant.
So like in the word car.
Perfect example. Car. Hear that R. It's very pronounced. Your tongue might curl a bit in the back. Car.
Right. Whereas in some other English accents, that R might be softer or maybe not even there.
Exactly. That clear, strong R sound is a real hallmark of General American.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a definite marker. What's the second element? This one sounds fun. The flap T.
Ah, the flap T. It does sound kind of like a secret code, doesn't it?
A little bit.
But it's really just about efficiency. Phonetic economy. When a T sound comes between 2 vowel sounds, American speakers tend to soften it. It becomes more like a quick, light D sound. Our mouths just find the easier path,
Ah, okay. So it's not just a rule. It's kind of what happens naturally.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The classic example everyone uses is water.
Becoming.
Water.
Water, yes. I remember noticing that. It's such a game changer when you hear it.
It really is. And it happens all the time. Think about better.
Better.
Right. Or little.
A little.
Metal becomes metal. Even words like butter, city, data.
Butter, city, data. Wow, yeah.
Getting that flap T down can instantly make you sound more, natural, more connected.
Okay, cool. So we have rhoticity, the R, flap T, the soft ED sound. What's third?
Third is the vowel sounds. This is where things get really subtle but super important.
Subtle how?
Well, the actual sounds of the vowels in American English can be slightly different from other varieties of English. Even tiny variations here can really change how people perceive your speech.
Okay, so precision matters here.
Definitely. American English has its own specific set of vowel sounds. The guide uses dance as an example.
How does dance illustrate it?
In American English, the A in dance is usually short, like the A in cat. D-ance, okay.
A. Short A. But in some other accents, that A might be longer, more like the A in father. These A.
Ah, hear it. Dance versus dance. That one vowel changes the whole feel.
Exactly, and that's just one vowel. There are lots of these little differences that make up the overall sound. It's really about tuning your ear to those nuances. Got it. Vowel nuances. And the fourth element, this sounds important for flow.
It is. It's intonation and stress. This is like the music of the language.
Rhythm.
Yeah, the rhythm, the emphasis, how you use your voice to make certain words stand out. It's not just saying the words right, it's how you string them together naturally.
Okay.
American English tends to stress the words that carry the main meaning. You know, nouns, verbs, adjectives, those get the emphasis.
And the smaller words.
The little words, prepositions, articles, conjunctions, they often get reduced, softened, almost swallowed sometimes.
So, like, turning down the volume on the less important words.
That's a good way to put it. It creates this rhythm, this kind of dance between the strong beats and the weak beats.
A dance. I like that. Makes speech more engaging, easier to follow.
Exactly. Nailing that rhythm can make a huge difference in how fluent and natural you sound.
Okay, so those are the four pillars. Rhoticity, flap T, vowel sounds, and intonation stress. That gives us a great framework. But, like, how do we actually practice this stuff?
Right. Good question. Well, the guide really champions using the International Phonetic Alphabet, the IPA.
Ah, the IPA. I'll be honest, I've seen those charts.
Mm-hmm.
They look kind of intimidating, all those weird symbols.
They can look that way at first, for sure, like a secret code.
Yeah.
But once you kind of get the hang of it, it's incredibly powerful. It gives you a really precise way to see exactly how a sound is made.
More precise than just spelling.
Way more precise. English spelling is notoriously inconsistent, right?
Tell me about it.
But an IPA symbol tells you exactly. Where does your tongue go? What shape do your lips make? It removes the guesswork. It's like a universal map for sounds.
And the guide includes an IPA chart specifically for American English.
It does, which is super helpful. Think of it as your pronunciation roadmap. If you're struggling with a sound, the IPA can show you exactly what to do.
Okay, I might have to give IPA another look then. It sounds like it could really help with those tricky sounds.
Definitely worth it. And speaking of tricky sounds, the guide calls out some specific vowel sounds that learners often stumble over, especially if those sounds don't exist in their first language.
Yeah, I can imagine. Can we run through a few key ones, maybe with the IPA symbols?
Sure. A big one is the short A, like in cat, that's E.
Like cat, hat, map.
Right. And you need to distinguish it from the broader A, like in father, which is, hear the difference, A versus t.
Subtle, but definitely different.
Yeah.
Cat, father.
Okay. Then there's the E sound in bed, that's deep, and the I sound in sit, that's A.
Sit, okay, got it. And, ante. What else?
Let's see, the O sound in dog, that's
Dog.
the U sound in book, that's a
Yeah.
book, and the long U sound, like in blue, that one's eustatus. Notice the little colons, they often indicate length.
Use, blue, right. And then there's the sound, the one that's everywhere.
Ah, yes, the schwa, the MVP of American vowels.
Huh. Why the MVP?
Because it's so common. Its symbol is churs. You find it in almost all unstressed syllables, like the A in about terbat, or the first A in banana bransta.
Ah, okay. About banana. It's like the default lazy sound.
Pretty much. It's super important for that natural rhythm and flow. You really need to master the schwa.
Okay, the schwa, got it. So those are some key vowels. What about tricky consonants? Does the guide highlight any?
It definitely calls out the th sounds. Those are notorious.
Oh, yeah, because lots of languages just don't have them.
Exactly. And there are actually two distinct th sounds in English.
Right, there's the one where your voice is on.
Voice th, yeah. Like in this, that, the symbol is E. You feel a vibration in your throat. E.
This, that, the, okay. And the other one?
Is the voiceless th.
Yeah.
Just air, no voice. Like in think, thank, three, symbol is they.
Think, thank, three, the. Okay, A of is S. Same letters, different sounds.
Big difference. And the guide gives a great tip for practicing.
Yeah. What is it?
Gently place your tongue just between your teeth. Not too far out, just resting lightly.
Okay.
Then, for the voice day, vibrate your vocal cords. For the voiceless day, just blow air gently through the gap.
Okay, tongue between teeth. Vibrate for air. Just air for air. Feels kind of weird at first.
It totally does. I remember feeling really self-conscious, but you practice it and it starts to feel more normal.
And getting those sounds right must make a big difference in clarity.
Huge difference. Makes you sound much more authentically American.
Okay. And we should probably loop back to the flap T again, shouldn't we?
Uh-huh.
Since it's so common.
Absolutely. We mentioned water becoming water. The guide also uses butter.
Which becomes
butter.
Butter.
Right.
And city.
City.
City. It's amazing how that little change makes such a big impact on the sound.
It really does. It's one of those small things that signals naturalness.
Okay, so we've talked about individual sounds, vowels, consonants, the flap T. But we don't speak in isolated sounds, do we?
Not at all. Speech flows. Words connect. And that brings us to linking and reduction. Super important.
Linking and reduction. Okay, what's the difference?
Linking is how the end sound of one word connects smoothly to the beginning sound of the next word.
Got an example?
Sure. Think about what are. When we say it quickly, it often sounds like what are. The tile links to the A.
What are. Yeah, I hear that. Okay, so that's linking. What's reduction?
Reduction is when we shorten or even drop unstressed words or syllables, making them smaller, quicker.
Like the famous ones. Going to becomes
Gonna.
and want to.
Wanna.
Gonna, wanna. Okay, so these aren't lazy mistakes. They're actually part of natural speech.
Absolutely essential parts of natural spoken American English. The guide really stresses this.
Why are they so important?
Because if you pronounce every single word perfectly and distinctly without linking or reduction...
You sound kind of like a robot.
Exactly. A bit robotic, unnatural. It lacks flow. The guide compares it to dancing. You need the smooth transitions between the steps, not just perfect individual moves.
That's a great way to think about it. The flow makes it sound effortless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pronunciation covered. But that's only part of the picture for fluency, right?
Absolutely. You can have perfect pronunciation, but if you don't have the words...
You can't really express yourself fully.
Precisely. So vocabulary is key. And the guide points out it's more than just memorizing word lists.
Right. It's about how words are actually used.
Yeah.
In context, how they combine.
Exactly. Which is why the guide puts a big emphasis on things like idioms and phrasal verbs.
Idioms and phrasal verbs. Essential, but sometimes tricky.
Definitely. They're everywhere in everyday American conversation. Idioms are those expressions where the meaning isn't literal, right?
Yeah, like hit the road doesn't mean you're actually hitting it.
Right. It means to leave or break the ice.
To start a conversation, make people feel comfortable.
Exactly. They add so much color and flavor to the language.
And phrasal verbs, those verb plus preposition combos.
Yep. Like look up something in a dictionary or figure out a problem or put up with something annoying.
Look up, figure out, put up with? Yeah, they're everywhere.
Ubiquitous. And the guide stresses it's not just about knowing the meaning.
It's about using them correctly, appropriately.
Exactly. And that comes from exposure and practice. Hearing them, seeing them, trying them out yourself.
Makes sense. The guide also pushes for learning more advanced vocabulary, doesn't it? Beyond just the basics.
It does. It encourages you to expand your range, add more depth. They give examples like ubiquitous.
Meaning?
Everywhere. Like smartphones are ubiquitous now.
Right.
Or ephemeral, meaning short-lived, fleeting, like a beautiful sunset is ephemeral.
Nice word.
Or quintessential, meaning the perfect example of something like maybe a yellow taxi is the quintessential New York City image for some people.
Quintessential. Okay, so using words like these adds sophistication.
It adds precision, nuance, and just understanding them enriches your whole grasp of the language, your mental map of it.
Right. Builds a richer understanding. And there was one more vocab thing, collocations. What are those again?
Collocations are simply words that tend to go together naturally in English. Common pairings.
Right.
Like you make a decision, you don't usually do a decision.
Okay. Make a decision.
Or you take a break, usually not have a break in American English. You do homework, not make homework.
Got it. So learning these pairs helps you sound more natural, avoid weird combinations.
Exactly. It helps your speech flow better, sound more authentic. It contributes to that natural rhythm we talked about.
Okay, pronunciation, vocabulary. What about understanding what people are saying to you? Listening, comprehension.
Crucial. Absolutely vital. You can't have a conversation if you can't follow it, right?
Right. So how does the guide suggest improving listening, specifically for the American accent?
The big recommendation is immersion. Just surround yourself with the language.
Easier said than done if you're not living in the U.S., though.
True. But there are great ways. Movies and TV shows are fantastic.
The guide mentions some specific ones, didn't it?
Yeah. Classics like Friends or Breaking Bad, The Office. Shows like that are gold mines.
Why gold mines?
Because you get authentic dialogue, real conversations, natural intonation, tons of vocabulary, idioms, slang, all in context.
And it's entertaining. You're learning while watching something you enjoy.
Exactly. It doesn't feel like studying. The guide also suggests American podcasts and radio, mentions This American Life, Radio Lab.
Oh, great shows. And there are podcasts on literally everything now.
Anything you can imagine. So you can find something you're genuinely interested in and listen to native speakers talking about it.
But the guide says just listening isn't quite enough, right? Talks about active listening.
Yes, that's the key distinction. Passive listening is okay, but active listening is where the real learning happens.
What does active listening look like?
It means really paying attention, tuning in, trying to catch new words or phrases, noticing the linking, the reduction, the intonation patterns.
Engaging your brain more.
Exactly. The guide suggests things like taking notes, jot down new vocab you hear, or try repeating phrases aloud right after you hear them. That helps with pronunciation and intonation at the same time. You're training your ear and your mouth together.
Actively working with the material, not just letting it play in the background.
Precisely. That active engagement really helps stuff stick in your memory and internalize those speech patterns.
Okay, so listening actively is crucial. Now, the speaking part, this is where a lot of people feel stuck already.
Definitely. Speaking can be really intimidating. Fear of mistakes, lack of confidence.
So how does the guide suggest getting over that hurdle, building speaking confidence?
Well, unsurprisingly, the best way is to practice with native speakers.
But again, how do you find them if you're not in the U.S.?
The guide points to language exchange apps or websites, things like Tandem or HelloTalk.
Ah, yeah, I've heard of those. You connect with people learning your language.
Exactly. You help them, they help you. It's a win-win. Or look for local language exchange meetups in your city. Sometimes they exist.
Good ideas. What if someone's not quite ready for that yet, still feeling a bit shy?
The guide has some great self-practice suggestions. One is simply recording yourself speaking.
Ooh, that can be revealing.
It really can. A bit cringy at first, maybe, but so useful. You hear yourself as others hear you. You can spot pronunciation issues, intonation awkwardness.
Things you might not notice otherwise.
Exactly. Great for self-assessment. Another technique mentioned is shadowing.
Shadowing. What's that involved?
You listen to a short clip of a native speaker, maybe a sentence or two, and you try to repeat it exactly as they said it at the same speed with the same rhythm and intonation, like you're their echo.
Ah, okay. So you're mimicking everything.
Yep. It's fantastic practice for both your listening skills and your production, your mouth muscles, your intonation patterns.
That sounds challenging but effective. Any other tools?
The guide suggests using speech recognition software, like Google Voice typing or dictation features on your phone.
How does that help?
Well, it's like getting instant feedback. If you say something and the software consistently misunderstands you,
it probably means your pronunciation needs work on that word or sound.
Exactly. It's not perfect. It's not a human conversation partner, but it can be a useful quick check.
Okay, lots of practical ways to practice speaking. Now, we touched on it briefly, but the guide really emphasizes the cultural context, doesn't it?
Oh, hugely. You really can't separate language from culture. They're completely intertwined.
So knowing the language isn't enough. You need to understand the culture it comes from.
Absolutely. To really master American English, it helps immensely to understand things like American holidays, traditions, social norms, even pop culture references.
Why is that so important?
Because those things shape how people talk, what they talk about, the assumptions they make. Like the guide says, understanding Thanksgiving helps you understand conversations around that time of year.
Or getting jokes that reference certain movies or TV shows.
Exactly. And the guide specifically mentions American slang.
Ah, slang. Always changing.
Always. Things like cool, awesome, chill. They're common, but slang evolves fast. If you're not familiar with current slang, you can easily miss the meaning or the humor in a conversation.
It adds another layer. And what about variations within the U.S. culture?
Right. The guide mentions regional vocabulary differences, the classic example.
Soda versus pop.
Soda versus pop versus Coke. Depending where you are, that fizzy drink has a different name.
Huh? Yeah, that's a famous one.
It just shows the internal diversity. The guide encourages appreciating that richness, even while you're focusing on building that general American foundation.
It adds color, definitely. Okay, so beyond the technical stuff and the culture, the guide talks about the mindset. What's the right mindset for fluency?
A big one is trying to think directly in English.
Instead of translating everything from your native language in your head.
Exactly. That translation step slows you down, makes speech less spontaneous. It's a hard habit to break, but really crucial.
How do you practice that?
The guide suggests deliberately trying to speak about a wide range of topics. Push yourself outside your comfort zone. It forces you to find the English words directly, to kind of think on your feet in English.
Okay, Stretching yourself.
And remembering that it's a journey. Fluency isn't some finish line you cross. It's an ongoing process of discovery and refinement.
That takes the pressure off a bit, thinking of that way.
It should. And the guide also reminds us to leverage all the resources out there. Language apps, online communities like Reddit.
Find what works for you personally.
Exactly. Experiment. See what clicks. Everyone's path is different. The key is to find ways to keep learning enjoyable and sustainable.
Right. Now, it's also helpful to know what not to do. Does the guide mention any common mistakes learners make?
It does. Being aware of common pitfalls can help you avoid them. One is overusing formal language.
Like being too polite or stiff in casual chat.
Yeah. Saying greetings instead of hi, or using very complex sentences when simple ones would do. It can sound unnatural.
Okay, what else?
Getting the pronunciation of common, everyday words wrong, words we use all the time, like comfortable or vegetable. Interesting.
Those can be tricky. Comfortable. Vegetable.
They can. And because they're so frequent, small errors there can really affect clarity. Also, mistakes with intonation and stress.
We talked about how important that is.
Right. Putting the stress on the wrong syllable can sometimes even change the word's meaning entirely. Remember, right chord.
Right chord, the noun,
Yeah.
versus record, the verb.
Yeah. Paying attention to those stress patterns is vital. And the last big mistake is direct translation.
Trying to translate word for word from your native language.
Yeah. It almost never works perfectly. Sentence structure, idioms, word order, they're often different. It leads to awkward, unnatural sounding English. You really have to try and think in English.
Think in English, not just translate into it.
Right.
Okay, good reminders.
Yeah.
So to make consistent progress, the guide suggests some practical exercises, right?
Absolutely. Things you can actively do.
Like what? What stands out?
Well, tongue twisters are a classic for a reason.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
Exactly. They're great for articulation, for practicing tricky sounds, and kind of fun, too.
In a frustrating way, sometimes.
True. Another great one is role-playing.
Acting out situations.
Yeah. Pretend you're ordering coffee or asking for directions or having a job interview. Practice the language you'd use in those real-life scenarios. It makes it much more concrete.
Good idea. Puts it in context.
The guide also repeats the advice to read aloud and record yourself. Then listen back, compare yourself to a native speaker model, really helps you hear your own pronunciation and intonation.
Self-correction.
Yep. And dictation exercises. Listen to a short audio clip, maybe from a podcast or a movie scene, and write down exactly what you hear.
That sounds like good practice for listening and spelling together.
It really is. It forces you to catch every sound. And the absolute key message with all these exercises.
Let me guess. Consistency.
You got it. Consistency, even just 10-15 minutes a day, done regularly, is way more effective than one long session once a week. Make it a habit.
Small steps, big results over time.
Exactly. That's how you build real, lasting improvement.
So, wow, we've covered a lot. It's clear that speaking English with an American accent, achieving that fluency, it's a whole package, isn't it?
It really is multifaceted. It's way more than just grammar rules and vocab lists. It's understanding the sounds, the music of the language, the culture.
The whole feel of it.
Yeah. And this guide we've been digging into, it really does offer a fantastic roadmap. It's detailed, practical.
Gives you the tools.
Gives you the tools and the understanding. And the message is clear. This goal, sounding fluent and natural, it is achievable. It takes time, it takes effort, but it's within reach.
And the reward is huge, right? Being able to connect with people, share ideas.
Exactly. It opens up so many doors. Connecting with different cultures, accessing information, just experiencing the world in a new way. It's incredibly empowering.
Definitely. Okay, so for a final thought, something for our listeners to take away and try.
Yeah, let's give them a challenge.
How about this? Pick just one specific thing we talked about today. Just one.
Okay, like what?
Maybe it's focusing on the flap T.
Huh.
Or maybe trying to use one new idiom you learned. Or just actively listening for intonation patterns in the next American show you watch.
Just one small focus. I like it.
Yeah. Choose that one thing, and the next time you're listening to or speaking English, really pay attention to it. Notice how native speakers do it. Try it yourself, even if it feels awkward at first.
See what happens, what you discover.
Exactly. Because progress really comes from that cycle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Observation, experimentation, learning.
It absolutely does. And remember to have fun with it. Language learning shouldn't feel like a chore all the time.
Good point. Find the enjoyment in it.
Yeah. So keep practicing, keep exploring, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep that passion for language alive.